Galak-Z locks on to the feeling of being up against some seriously crushing odds, seals you away in a spaceship cockpit and says, "Good luck, yo." And who doesn't love a good underdog story? This 80s space shooter-inspired space adventure is built for its players to feel like badass space pilots with a strong cause and a lot to prove. It's exactly as intense, terrifying, and exhilarating as such a situation should be. But how does Galak-Z achieve this feeling? Let's break it down. You pilot the eponymous Galak-Z, an experimental spaceship which can transform into a mech at will. Each season of the game is broken into 5 episodes, complete with a dash of story flavoring, as well as new ship upgrades, enemies, and mission objectives. Every mission consists of warping into a procedurally generated zone and navigating fierce opposition with your limited but powerful armory. Galak-Z gives you everything you need to succeed and makes damn sure any victories feel rewarding. But is it rated S? Like with many a video game fantasy, 99.99% of us have no idea what it would be like to be a space pilot. Like, there are more space pilots than Dragon Slayers, technically. But most of us have no freaking clue. So, Galak-Z has to properly establish a playing field for which to be a space pilot in, and a ship to control, which controls like a spaceship probably would. And then they have to make it really freaking hard, because it's probably hard. The setup to Galak-Z is pretty thin. The faceless Imperial scum wiped out all the good guys in a dirty ambush, but somehow you survived because of course you did. Though technically they do have faces, little animated ones that pop up in the corner and they say ridiculously campy things. It's very adorable, but you know what I mean. There is a reason for all the fighting, of course, but the story smartly focuses on a small cast of characters and their implausible revenge mission. And it's fun! It's a fun setting with a charm that's easy to appreciate. I bring this up because the narrative contributes to the whole me against the world vibe that this game pushes. Each zone is procedurally generated, but you're pretty much going to get a giant derelict space building or an asteroid with a convenient built-in cave network. Stepping away from the game, and even as I write that down, I realize it's kind of uninteresting. Space rocks and space blocks, not exactly romantic, right? But that desolate, underwhelming monotony of space crap that crafts each world is appropriate. Despite the lighthearted dialogue and cheesy sound bites during the gameplay, Galak-Z is mostly a lonely, stressful game. Those moments where you're pushing through space, surrounded by the nothingness, which until recently was filled with lasers and explosions, are calming, and the environmental design definitely contributes to that. Imagine those scenes and action stories where the hero is trying to revel in their victory, only to slowly be reminded that there's like, 80 kajillion bad guys left to destroy. Yeah, it's like that. Flying through a wasteland of flotsam and jetsam feels appropriately space piloty. You know, it's not all just heart attack inducing combat, because if it was, you'd have a heart attack. But most of it is heart attack inducing combat. Handling the Galak-Z means constantly managing forward, reverse, and strafe thrusters in the middle of combat, which demands a ton of focus. Controlling your ship for purposes of evasion is hard enough, but then you actually have to hit stuff with all your lasers. Stuff with way more health, and way more bullets, which really have no business losing to you at all. So as much as you want to boost into battle, charge at the bad guys, and just demolish them with your cannons and missiles and all that great stuff, it simply just won't work after a while. There's a theme of fight or flight as you balance ship preservation and the breaking of opponents down into base components. It's difficult to analyze Galak-Z's combat bit by bit, and frankly, it'd be kinda useless. The dogfights in this game are amorphous, free-flowing events which pile up into this congealed mass of that was freaking awesome. You'll be forced to choose between going full blasters or slamming enemies into wall with your mech grab, or just firing an assload of missiles in a circle and hoping for the best. When enumerated, it sounds like you don't really have a ton of options, and you don't. That feeling of having to work with what little you've got makes every victory so satisfying. It's the resourcefulness of the daring, arguably stupid pilot which paid off in the end. And all the explosions help too. So we have the playground in which to perform space piloty shenanigans, and then we have the ship, which lets us shenaniganize space. But we also need the challenge that makes us feel badass, because without some kind of cool thing to surmount, then having a cool ship and a cool space in which to have a ship means nothing. Instead of just giving you a cool ship and blasters and a mech thing with a grabby hand and saying go nuts with mindless shooter action, which they totally could have done, developer 17-bit went all Bowser with it. Every season gives you some new kind of enemy design which requires different thinking or even a new enemy formation. They're like, oh, you beat that one, huh? Well, how about this and this at the same time? And then you're like, oh no. You know what I mean? Right? Like, that's very Bowser. I think that makes sense. So, for instance, there's guys like this which fire their shots in bursts. They're not too hard on their own because you can just fire between dodging their shots. Well, later, they get homing missiles, and then they start showing up 3 at a time, and then you're probably thinking, okay, that's a little too much, right? Yeah, okay, well, how about when these Void Raider guys, because, oh yeah, by the way, all 3 different enemy types fight each other all the time, and it's awesome. So how about when those guys just show up mid-fight too? What are you gonna do? Seriously though, you will have to figure out just about everything on the fly, because A, you don't always have access to the same upgrades and ship abilities, and B, you don't always want them all. The only thing that always works is getting more health. That's pretty much it. You don't even always need missiles. There are so many possible encounters because all the enemies are designed to play nice. And of course, by play nice, I mean they all shoot each other while yelling one-liners, so not really nice, but you know, they interact in a believable way. That's kind of what I was going for. And it makes these naturally occurring encounters feel so much more personal and believable. So when you decide to go and engage on a Void Raider blasting a giant bug, you can take your time and strike when they're both weakest. Despite how awesome the combat is, you'll rarely be actually forced to fight anyone. Most encounters can be evaded. Enemy formations often have patrol patterns that you can learn and follow. There's even noise factored in when using your ship's thrusters, so if you're really cool, you can boost right up to your enemies, cut your engines, and just float by them. There's a large amount of upgrades you can find and apply to your ship, and each of them help guide you in your decision-making processes. And rest assured, Galak-Z has every kind of spaceship jerk you can imagine, from quick bastards with reflective shields and shotguns to giant sentinel assholes with swords and bad attitudes. Galak-Z is a thrilling sci-fi warscape in every way it needs to be, and do not misconceive the words from my face. This game will kick 100% of your ass. The whole ass, thoroughly kicked. All of it. But that's what makes it the quintessential underdog story. Nothing's for free. Everything is difficult. All of the challenges that will be placed in front of you, you'll have to find creative solutions to. And that is what will make you feel like a badass space pilot. And at the end of every mission, that's what Galak-Z wants you to feel. So for achieving that, Galak-Z is absolutely rated S. Thanks for watching. Hello everybody, thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it because I enjoyed making it. And if you did, just feel free to like the video or leave a comment, or maybe subscribe if you want to see more. And if you do want to see more coverage of really cool indie games, which I do from time to time, definitely check out these videos here, annotated on the screen.